The silent preparation, the day they left the great hall of the Galactic Assembly, buzzed with the chittering, growling, and harmonious sounds of 1,000 different species. Representatives from across the known galaxy had gathered on the neutral station of Nexus Prime to discuss territorial disputes, trade agreements, and the endless politics that kept their civilizations from destroying each other. At the far end of the hall, almost hidden behind towering delegates from the crystalline Vorthic Empire, sat 3 humans in simple gray uniforms. Ambassador Sarah Chun shifted uncomfortably in her seat as the Kralith delegate finished his presentation about humanity's request for protected shipping lanes. The 8-foot-tall reptilian creature's voice dripped with condescension as he addressed the assembly. "Honored delegates," the Kralith hissed, his forked tongue tasting the recycled air. "We waste precious time discussing the concerns of a species that has barely mastered faster-than-light travel. These humans speak of trade routes and protection, yet they cannot even defend a single cargo vessel from pirates." Laughter rippled through the assembly, and musical chimes of the ethereal collective mixed with the deep rumbles of the Stoneheart. Federation. Even the usually diplomatic Centauri representatives allowed themselves amused clicks of their mandibles. Ambassador Chun stood slowly, her voice steady despite the humiliation burning in her chest. "Honored delegates, humanity may be new to the galactic community, but we offer valuable resources and perspectives. We ask only for the same protections afforded to other peaceful trading species." The Kralith delegate's eyes glowed with malicious amusement. "And what, pray tell, would you offer in return? Your primitive kinetic weapons? Your chemical propulsion systems?" The laughter grew louder. Chun's jaw tightened, but her voice remained calm. "We offer partnership, innovation, and peaceful cooperation." Innovation? The word came from the Vorthic section, spoken by a crystalline being whose voice resonated like breaking glass. "Your species still wars among itself on your homeworld. You have contributed nothing to galactic civilization except requests for aid and protection." The assembly erupted in agreement. Delegates nodded, shittered, and vocalized their consensus. Humanity was irrelevant, a minor inconvenience in the grand scheme of galactic politics. The massacre at Kepler's Edge, 3 months later, the laughter. Stopped. Captain Maria Santos watched her tactical display with growing horror as crimson dots swarmed toward the human colony convoy. 47 civilian ships carrying families, scientists, and everything needed to establish New Haven. Colony had been traveling peacefully through what should have been neutral space when the Kralith war fleet appeared. "Captain, they're not responding to our surrender signals," reported Lieutenant Commander James Park from the communications station. "They're jamming all frequencies." Santos gripped her command chair as the first wave of plasma bolts tore through the convoy's outer escorts. The human defense ships were outgunned 50-1, their primitive shields failing under the alien onslaught. "All ships, scatter pattern Delta," Santos ordered, knowing it was hopeless. "Protect the civilian vessels at all costs." The civilian ships were massive, ungainly things designed for comfort during long journeys, not for evasion. The Kralith hunters moved through them like sharks through a school of fish. Santos watched helplessly as transport after transport exploded in brilliant flashes, taking with them thousands of men, women, and children who had dreamed of a new world among the stars. The massacre lasted 47 minutes. When it ended, 39 civilian ships had been destroyed. 200,000 humans were dead, including Santos and her entire crew. Only 8 ships escaped to carry news of the atrocity back to Earth. The Kralith commander transmitted a single message to the survivors. "This is what happens to vermin who forget their place." The silence the news of Kepler's Edge reached Earth 3 weeks later. The response was not what anyone expected. There were no angry speeches from world leaders, no calls for retaliation, no demands for justice from the Galactic Assembly. Instead, humanity went quiet. Trade missions were recalled. Diplomatic posts were abandoned. Human ships simply vanished from the space lanes. The galaxy assumed humanity had finally learned its lesson and retreated to lick its wounds. The Kralith boasted of teaching the upstart species humility. Other civilizations nodded approvingly at this demonstration of proper galactic hierarchy. But in the asteroid belts of Sol System, in the depths of abandoned moons, and in the dark spaces between planets, humanity was not cowering. They were building. Dr. Elena Vasquez floated in the zero gravity of Construction Station Omega, one of 47 secret facilities scattered throughout human space. Before her stretched something that defied comprehension. A ship so vast it had its own gravitational field, so complex it required an artificial intelligence just to coordinate its systems. Final systems check complete, announced Aria, the AI that served as the vessel's brain. All weapon systems operational. All defensive screens at full capacity. All crew quarters prepared for extended deployment. Vasquez smiled grimly as she reviewed the specifications. The ship stretched nearly 200 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull forged from materials that didn't officially exist. Hidden within its bulk were weapons that could crack planets, shields that could withstand stellar bombardment, and engines that could accelerate its massive bulk faster than most fighters. "How many are complete?" she asked. "This vessel, designated Nemesis, is the 7th of 12 to reach operational status," Aria replied. "Construction continues on schedule across all facilities." Vasquez nodded. 7 planet-sized warships, each one capable of destroying entire fleets, and the galaxy had no idea they existed. For 3 years, humanity had poured every resource, every brilliant mind, every innovation into this project. They had called it the Titan Initiative, and it would change everything. The Revelation Admiral Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of Nemesis as it emerged from the shadow of Jupiter. At 63, he was old for a fleet commander, but he had been chosen not for his youth, but for his cold determination. He had lost his daughter and grandchildren at Kepler's Edge. "All stations report ready, Admiral," called his executive, Officer Commander Lisa Foster. Around them, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. These were not regular Navy personnel, but volunteers, every one of them having lost someone to alien cruelty. "Aria, status of sister ships?" "All vessels report operational and in position," the AI responded. "Retribution holds position at Alpha. Centauri. Justice maintains station near Wolf 359. Vengeance guards the Vega approach. All ships await your command." Webb studied the tactical display showing the positions of his fleet. 7 Titans spread across human space, invisible to alien sensors, waiting for the moment that was 3 years in the making. Open channel to Earth Command. The face of General Patricia Hayes appeared on the main screen, her expression grim but determined. "The Assembly has officially classified humanity as a minor species and granted the Kralith authority over our shipping routes," she reported. "They're demanding tribute for safe passage." Webb's jaw tightened. "They want to make us slaves in everything but name." "The President has authorized Operation Daybreak," Hayes continued. "You are cleared for immediate execution." Webb turned to his crew. 3 years of preparation, of building in secret, of swallowing their pride while the galaxy laughed at them. Now it was time to remind the universe why predators feared the dark. "Aria, transmit Daybreak authorization to all vessels." "Tactical, bring us to full readiness." "Communications, prepare the message." As Nemesis powered up its world-ending weapons, Webb thought of his daughter Sarah, who had been traveling to New Haven to teach children on the frontier. The Kralith had turned her into stardust, along with so many others. "This is Admiral Webb to all Titan vessels," he announced across the Fleet Channel. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. Humanity remembers. Humanity endures. And humanity strikes back. The first strike the Kralith battle fleet was celebrating. 50 of their finest warships had gathered in the Proxima system to divide the tribute they had extracted from human merchants. Their commander, war leader Vex, was especially pleased with himself. The same species he had massacred 3 years ago was now paying for the privilege of existing. The humans grow more compliant each cycle, Vex hissed to his subordinates. Soon we will expand our protection zone to include their entire territory. It was then that the stars themselves seemed to shift. Space twisted, and something impossible emerged from hyperspace. The Kralith sensors screamed warnings as they tried to process what they were seeing. A ship larger than their entire fleet combined, bristling with weapons that shouldn't exist, protected by shields that bent light around them. "War leader," stammered his tactical officer. "The humans, they have built something." Vex stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The thing before them was not just a ship, but a floating fortress, a monument to engineering that his species could never have imagined. Then it spoke. Asterisk. "This is Admiral Marcus Webb of the Terran Defense Force," came the transmission, calm and implacable. "You are guilty of crimes against humanity. You have murdered our children, enslaved our merchants, and laughed at our grief. The time for laughter is over." Vex found his voice. "You dare threaten the Kralith Empire? We will crush your pathetic vessel and add its wreckage to our trophies." The response was not words, but action. Nemesis unleashed a single weapon, a focused beam of energy that converted matter to its component atoms. The beam struck the Kralith flagship and simply erased it from existence. No explosion, no debris field, just emptiness where a warship had been. The silence that followed was broken by Admiral Webb's voice. "Surrender now, and you will be permitted to return to your homeworld with this message. Humanity is no longer asking for protection. We are offering it. To those who accept our friendship, we extend our hand. To those who threaten our people, we extend this." Nemesis fired again, and another Kralith ship ceased to exist, the war leader of the remaining 48 vessels made the only rational choice. He surrendered. Asterisk. The reckoning begins. The Empire burns the news of the Kralith. Fleet surrender reached their homeworld within hours, but the Kralith High Command refused to believe it. How could 50 of their finest warships be defeated by the same primitives they had crushed so easily 3 years before? Supreme War Leader Vex, ruler of the Kralith Empire, summoned his greatest admirals to the throne chamber. The massive reptilian sat on a throne carved from the bones of conquered species, his amber eyes blazing with fury. "These humans mock. Use with lies," he snarled. "No species develops such technology in mere years. This is some trick, some deception." Admiral Cross, scarred veteran of a dozen conquests, bowed before his leader. "My lord, perhaps we should investigate before taking action. The reports from Proxima are disturbing." Vex's tail lashed violently. "The Kralith Empire bows to no one. Assemble the Grand Fleet. We will reduce the human homeworld to ash and show the galaxy what happens to those who dare challenge us." Within 6 days, the largest military force in Kralith history was assembled. 300 warships, including their massive dreadnoughts and planet-killer siege vessels, set course for Sol System. It was enough firepower to sterilize a dozen worlds, but as the Grand Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of human territory, they found something waiting for them, not one Titan-class vessel, but 3. Nemesis hung in space alongside Justice and Retribution, their combined bulk dwarfing the entire Kralith armada. The alien ships looked like toys next to the human giants. Supreme War Leader Vex stared at the tactical display from his flagship's bridge, his reptilian features frozen in disbelief. "How many of these monsters do they have?" His answer came in the form of action. The 3 human vessels opened fire simultaneously, their weapon systems coordinating with inhuman precision. Beams of pure energy, gravitational distortions that crushed ships like tin cans, and exotic matter torpedoes that simply erased anything they touched in 12 minutes. The grand fleet of the Kralith Empire was reduced to drifting wreckage and escaping life pods. Only Vex's flagship remained intact, held motionless by some kind of tractor field. Admiral Webb's image appeared on every screen in the Kralith vessel. "Supreme War Leader Vex, your empire's reign of terror ends today. You have a choice. Surrender unconditionally, or we will visit upon your worlds the same fate you gave to our innocent civilians." Vex's pride warred with survival instinct. Around him, his bridge crew waited in terrified silence. Finally, the reptilian leader spoke, his voice hollow with defeat. "What do you want?" "Justice," Webb replied simply. "Your empire will disarm. Your military will be disbanded. Your government will be restructured under human oversight. Any who resist will share the fate of your fleets." As if to emphasize the point, the 3 Titan vessels turned toward the Kralith homeworld, their weapons charging with visible energy. Vex closed his eyes. In one day, the Kralith Empire had fallen. We surrender. The galaxy watches news of the Kralith Empire's destruction spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Species that had cowered before the reptilian war machine for centuries could hardly believe it. The humans, those primitive newcomers everyone had dismissed, had shattered one of the galaxy's great powers in a matter of days. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Assembly convened in emergency session, a same hall that had echoed with laughter. At humanity's expense, now buzzed with fear and confusion. Ambassador Chun, who had endured their mockery 3 years earlier, stood before the assembly once again. But this time, the delegates hung on her every word. "Honored representatives," she began, her voice carrying new authority. "Humanity comes before you not as supplicants, but as the galaxy's newest major power. We have demonstrated our capabilities. Now we offer our terms." The Vorthic delegate, his crystalline form dim with fear, spoke first. "Ambassador Chun, we had no knowledge of the Kralith attack on your people. Surely there is no need for aggressive expansion of your influence." Chun smiled coldly. "Aggressive expansion? We defended ourselves. The Kralith chose to respond with their grand fleet. We simply responded in kind." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. 300 ships destroyed by 3 human vessels. If humanity had 3 such ships, how many more did they possess? "What do you want from us?" asked the ethereal collective's representative, their harmonic voice trembling with harmonic discord. "Recognition," Chun replied. "A permanent seat on the Assembly Council. Voting rights proportional to our demonstrated power. And most importantly, a guarantee that no member species will ever again attack human vessels or colonies without facing immediate and overwhelming retaliation." The assembly erupted in debate. Some delegates argued for appeasement, others for resistance. But all of them were calculating the same terrible equation. If humans could build weapons that destroyed empires, what would happen to those who opposed them? The internal struggle on Earth, not everyone celebrated humanity's newfound strength. In the rebuilt cities and orbital habitats, protests erupted as news of the Kralith Empire's total destruction spread. Dr. Sarah Kim, a prominent xenobiologist, stood before a crowd of demonstrators outside the Geneva spaceport. "We've become the very thing we once feared," she shouted. "How are we different from the Kralith if we use overwhelming force to impose our will?" The crowd's response was mixed. Some cheered her call for restraint, while others shouted back about Kepler's edge and the 200,000 Ned. Admiral Webb, found himself defending the Titan initiative before a hastily convened Senate committee. The chamber was tense, filled with senators struggling to reconcile their horror at alien atrocities with their discomfort at humanity's response. "Admiral," said Senator Martinez, her voice carefully controlled, "the Kralith Empire encompassed 47 worlds with a combined population of 12 billion. Your actions have destabilized the entire Cygnus arm. What happens to those civilians?" Webb's expression remained stoic. "Senator, the Kralith military has been eliminated, not their civilian population. We've established humanitarian aid stations throughout their former territory. Their worlds are free to govern themselves under our protection." "Protection or occupation?" demanded Senator Harrison. "You've made us the galaxy's policemen without consulting the people you claim to protect." Webb leaned forward, his voice hard with conviction. "Senator, 3 years ago we watched helplessly as aliens murdered our children and laughed about it. Today, no species in this galaxy will ever again mistake humanity for easy prey. If that makes me a monster, so be it." The debate raged for hours, but in the end, the Senate voted to support the Titan initiative. The memory of Kepler's edge was still too fresh, the fear of alien retaliation too real, the ultimatum asterisk. As the galaxy reeled from the Kralith Empire's fall, Admiral Webb prepared humanity's message to the stars. From the Bridge of Nemesis, he addressed not just the Galactic Assembly, but every species with faster-than-light communication. "People of the galaxy," he began, his image broadcast across 1,000 worlds. 3 years ago, you witnessed the massacre of 200,000 human civilians. Your response was indifference. Some of you laughed, others turned away. None of you acted. The transmission reached the crystalline spires of the Vorthik homeworld, the floating cities of the ethereal collective, the underground warrens of the Morlith Federation. Everywhere, beings watched with growing unease. Today, you have seen what happens when humanity is pushed too far. The Kralith Empire believed might made right. They learned otherwise. But humanity is not interested in conquest for its own sake. We offer a choice. Webb paused, letting his words sink in across the void. Join us in building a galaxy where the strong protect the weak, where trade flows freely, where differences are settled through negotiation rather than violence. Accept human leadership in this endeavor, and you will find us generous allies. The image shifted to show the Titan-class vessels in all their terrible glory, weapon systems active, hull plating gleaming with barely contained energy. Reject our offer, threaten our people, or attempt to recreate the old order of oppression and exploitation, and you will face the same fate as the Kralith. We have 12 vessels like these, with more under construction. We have the will to use them. Webb's face returned to the screen, his expression implacable. This is not a negotiation. It is a statement of fact. The age of humanity has begun. Choose your place in it wisely. The new order 6 months after the Kralith Empire's fall, the galaxy had fundamentally changed. The Galactic Assembly had been restructured with humanity, holding a permanent seat on the Security Council. Trade routes that had been dominated by military might now operated under human protection. Ambassador Chun stood in her new office aboard Nexus Prime, looking out at a view that would have been impossible a year earlier. Human vessels moved freely through the station's docking bays, alongside ships from dozens of species. The same delegates who had once mocked her now sought meetings, trade agreements, and defensive pacts. Her aide, Lieutenant Commander Park, entered with the daily reports. Ambassador, the Vorthik have agreed to the Mineral Rights Treaty. The Ethereal Collective wants to establish cultural exchange programs, and the Centauri are requesting human mediation in their border dispute with the Helix Confederation. Chun smiled. A year ago, they wouldn't return our communications. Now they can't wait to talk to us. Fear is a powerful motivator, Park observed. Fear, yes, Shun agreed, but also hope. The species that join us voluntarily are finding that human leadership means protection, fair treatment, and unprecedented prosperity. Word is spreading. She turned back to the window, watching as a human hospital ship docked to provide medical aid to refugees from the former Kralith territories. We're not just enforcing peace, James. We're building something better. On the bridge of Nemesis, Admiral Webb reviewed the latest intelligence reports. 5 more Titan-class vessels had become operational, bringing humanity's fleet to 12 active ships. Construction had begun on the next generation, even larger and more powerful than the first. But the real victory wasn't in the ships themselves. It was in what they represented, a galaxy where humanity's voice carried weight, where human citizens could travel safely, where the strong protected the weak instead of preying upon them. Not Commander Foster approached with a communication tablet. Admiral, we're receiving surrender requests from 3 pirate clans in the Outer Rim. They want to join the Human Protection Fleet. Webb nodded. Even criminals recognized which way the wind was blowing. Process their applications. If they're sincere about reform, we can use their local knowledge. As Nemesis continued its patrol of human space, Webb reflected on how much had changed. 3 years ago, humanity had been a joke, a minor species begging for scraps. Now they were the galaxy's dominant power, feared by some, respected by many, but no longer dismissed by anyone. The laughter had stopped. In its place was something far more valuable, the recognition that humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through words or pleas, but through the simple demonstration that some lines should never be crossed. The age of humanity had indeed begun, built on the foundation of 12 planet-sized warships and the unshakable will to protect their own. The galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk,